Alright, so Nyakopo ya duma Ghana speaks tomorrow. Ghana speaks tomorrow. Ochina ayo civic right. Se uremu na uko voti ema the next 4 years. Enipa ope se odi enim as president of the nation no. Ochina ena abatu ne eba so auto president die no. No wa hakoto ama wo MP a ope se ono so bebia wo no odi uso no pomoden na ko voti because ayo civic rights. Na se se yeni se Cheddar ayo part of the candidate, independent candidate, omo hwese ombetimi apre the presidential seat na ombe prebie na Cheddar ka ho na ebusia Cheddar kodi nkomo bi efa the sporting aspect and as a football no kodi nkomo e de fa ho na eno na ebusia ye ba beche ya adwene Yakopon ya adom kira ye to abade enti e wo se Cheddar nkomo okobo ye no ye di nkomo e de fa ho. Now there is another conversation na ekoso me de ho update no abrel say it's likely say John Painstil and F.Dauda ye be sake omo na omo free blasters akache nya new technical staff on be take over na eno ena enene de enkomo bebre ena ekoso oba na wa be che wadwene o comment section message oba so ani de no pokwa so drop a message o comment section wo like video no na share link no so efa emaye yesa was sports link extra and so o search ya na wo bo modern subscribe to the channel no update bia no won sabe bo modern aka e honom stick and stay yenwamu na yɛfa enkomo no enfamrel na ebuso yɛ sha asem de wura mu ɛwɔ Blasters former international and I say former Blasters international Abronte and I say opinion ne din ɛde Augustine Ahimfo na Augustine Ahimfo ekodi nkomo ɛna ɔkyɛ sɛ Blasters de nam so ɛma ya feli afcon yenko bi nyina no structures a GF no put in place structures na enye papa na papa bi anim ni nyina kan bi na Ghana yentimi qualify for AFCON no na oto so HSA ade ba ko so ye problem pa ba ko GF coach mo appointed no was na omunye competent enough eno kan bi na Ghana yan qualify na Augustine Ahimfo ebon komo no say if they Ghana Football Association had hired the best coaches we wouldn't be here. I'm not saying the people they hire are the worst. But if they had brought in the best coaches and put proper structures in place, we might have qualified for the AFCON. That is Augustine Ahimfo and the boss Enkomoya Yeremu near the Hong Kong Edia bro. And I strongly agree with him. Structures ni enya juma, dictatorship no enya juma oho, manipulations edoso e GF na kache ni nyina kan bi and this fail one eba ye do ye nte otuado nye bet at least say ye ntimi winning a single game no tells you say structures no enya adwuma ni mabre wa enkoye o Blasters akache that is Augustine Ahimfo and this encommod buyer ye first sportsling Ghana so near the latest no etimi edi amount na ebuso yenwa mu na yenkotie enkomo wei na enano da enam de update ni ebrel say e likely and say e possible maybe metima ka say e 98% say John Painstil and F.Dauda ye besa ki omo na omo adwuma no ya pe competent people bi ometimi aboa na Blasters adwuma no aya ba be ye krabehwe enu nti no sese omo beko anase omo nko no question mi bisa ene sese a me no ka sese a wo hwa mi se de John Painstil ene F.Dauda ejina one side ye de Otu Ado ejina one side na the Blasters playing body no ejina one side na the GF ne keto krekunso ne microphone ejina one side ne ka che say jinipa baako anase nipa mienu a omo the root cause of Ghana failure Blasters failure na why na be pick no ye ka say nipa mienu a why na be pick no Otu Ado jina one side F.Dauda John Painstil ejina one side GF keto kreku ene ne microphone no ejina one side pa ne se pick baako a why na be pick no abusua che wadwene e comment section wo efo me na be bibia enya kama yenwa mu na enkote game plan enkomo ye course so efa say ye be pam John Painstil and F.Dauda no yenko nyenkotie enkomo we.
So for me, when you say that around this time when there is an audit, right, we're all going through that post-mortem of why we did not qualify, and your first move, if they go through with this, it is going to be the first major move that they've made beyond the apology, is to fire the assistants. What you are subtly communicating is that these guys were the problem,
right,
and they could not have been the problem under no circumstance, because they do not take ultimate responsibility for how this team is designed, for the in-game management, for the individual decisions, who is the captain, who plays where, what technical structure our players. None of these guys take the decision.
Yes.
The only, unless of course there were repeated patterns of goalkeeping errors, and then the goalkeeper's coach says, still, this is the guy I want. There wasn't that case.
We saw changes.
We saw changes. In fact, what the last change we saw worked to a devastating effect. Except
when he brought in Mana for a tea. Yeah.
And he made that penalty save for us.
Right.
So for me, I cannot for the life of me understand why this is what is preoccupying their minds. The idea that the assistants are the problem, and that in any event, what is the quality of that assessment in itself? Because it is a purely technical job. We can sit here and have our opinions, but you have to take it. It has to take a technical person to look at the job that they have done. So is it the technical directorate that is informing the executive council that, from what we have seen from Otuado's reports, JP and F.Dauda Lion, they are the reasons we did not qualify, or these are just the deductions of the executive council or the FA president or whoever it is that is making that case?
I find the whole thing very interesting and really difficult to understand because.
But have you checked the story that it is true?
No. But it's a story that is worthy of the conversation because it's not the first time.
No, it is not.
We've had this.
And you see, for me, the central theme in all of this.
We can cross check.
The central theme in all of this is that, irrespective of whatever stories that are going around, the fact that we don't get the impression that the FA is going to go against the grain and let the technical people lead the conversation of what happens next with the Black Stars is worrying. You cannot trust that the executive council is suddenly going to get it right in terms of determining whether or not, and here's the thing, I don't think there's even a conversation to be had about the future of the Black Stars coach.
You mean he has to go?
He has to. But what happens after him?
I mean,
you cannot trust that the very people who have gotten that decision wrong on so many occasions will suddenly find the competence to now be able to identify and tell apart a good coach from a bad one.
Okay, actually, let me tell you one interesting thing. So the decision to bring back Otto and the blessing that came from government was the fact that prior to AFCON 2023, and this person told me this in confidence, so I don't want to put out his name, told me that when they were in Jubilee House, he actually told the president, Nana Akufo-Addo, that Chris Hughton will disgrace us in Cote d'Ivoire. So when they went and told them they want to bring back Otuado, they had to trust it because they said Chris Hughton was going to disgrace us, and indeed he disgraced us.
This part, it annoys me. It is the reason why
it's neither here
take the national teams away from the FA. This idea that when it suits them, they take responsibility or they take the credit. But when things go wrong, they want to point hands at government and say, but what do you expect? That the government that pays and foots the bill of managing the Black Stars will not have a say in it. My only problem with the government is that, just like the FA, when they are also making recommendations on what to do with the Black Stars, it is often very unscientific. It is not by the people who should actually know that space. They are not the ones who advise governments on this. You would only have to go back to the previous instances where the government had. The clearest example I can give you was after AFCON 2017, when we wanted to give Kwesi Appiah the job. You saw the whole majority caucus in Parliament now telling Ghanaians why it was too expensive to maintain or to keep up with the cost of hiring a foreign coach. So we've seen that example before. That is why, look, my biggest takeaway in all of this is that we perhaps would have to get to the point where we determine and find a structure of running and managing our national teams, an independent structure, not by the FA, not by government, but by a fully funded body with very technical people, especially on the decisions like who is the coach for which of the teams. Because we can all have our views. We can all have our differences. What we can absolutely not compromise on is getting that decision right. And it's not just for the Black Stars coach, because today, when we talk about Morocco's return to prominence again, Cameroon, these are teams who went to the AFCON and didn't do so well. But they have done the very thing that Ghana used to do in the past, which is go to the tier below, under 20 and the Olympic team, push players through into the national team, and then all of a sudden they are, because there is no other blueprint for running a national team. You cannot manufacture players from outer space. They have to come from the conveyor belt that is organic, right? if we look through
and
our
that's
history,
why
that is what has
management
worked
at
for
those
us.
levels too had to be at the top. At
Exactly.
The very
That
top.
is why the coaching decisions or the appointments at those levels have to be consistent with
Fair enough.
the person that you are putting at the
All right, so in command na wunya bia wutie ye game plan so abusuanti choose sesi ya de sign nipa ko ejina ho ya kase pick nipa 2 the root cause of blasters failure na say Ghana football enkoye no why na obe choose no che wadwen conversation ho efema me now yento so ne na no da na presidential aspirant Cheddar yes na Kwame Bediako ekotena GTV edi nkomo kire say football nkasa say who waste your time and I say wo say wadaje ekotena say wohwe EPL wohwe Bundesliga wohwe Serie A edi de aka nyina French League A no wokotena say wohwe na o spend some hours say wohwe a eyade say wo say time na usika na wo hye no na abusua enkoma odi ye no yenko hwemra na kire wadwene efafa ho.
I think that, first of all, if you spend 2 hours watching football almost every 2 days, in a year, you would have spent 1,000 hours of your time or 500 hours of your time watching football, that somebody is getting paid $500,000 a week, but you watch them for free and pay your hours into it. Okay? And I don't think that's a good investment because your time is your most important asset. But you have to use it sensibly. But what I would do for sports, which I think we're lacking, that will stop people from just watching and not being a part of the industry, is to start to infuse sports right into our educational system by partnering with people who are specialized on that. Because we Ghanaians, we become footballers by vision, not by skills or training. And they need to be trained and coached. You need to go through a disciplinary process to become a footballer. Even if you were born with it, you still have to go through it. So that process of you educating yourself and learning about economics and other things, and then being trained about what to eat, how to behave yourself, how to discipline yourself, not to eat some things, not how to protect your leg and all of that. We don't have it in our schools. Yeah, they give us PE and then we're playing football and on the ground where there's stone there and they haven't even created the AstroTurf. You know, they don't have the drinks, the things. You know, you need to build these people. So what is happening is that somebody will come and form like an academy and call it Dream something something, and what is it called? Right to Dream. And then when you have your right to dream now, you have to go through someone's country in Holland before they sell you. So you're just like a polished slave. You know, he polishes you and then he sends you to Holland before they will give him a price and then he will give you a portion of it. When we can actually have academies that we will breed a lot of footballers and sell them to the world for millions of dollars, and most of the money will circulate in our system, and they would also feel like they're more entitled to where they got their skills from, where they got their breakthrough from. So they're going to stay true to the country. I would rather do that. I would rather have a combined academy with a school together. So you can breed them properly. And that's what I want to do. And after that, we can go and buy some Chelseas and Manchesters, just like the Arabs are doing, just to make our country stronger.
All right, so the presidential aspirants, and as a presidential aspirant, Nana Kwame Bediako Cheddar, and I want to say, Obi Biensam, so minim, say, we know, and Kofobi Jinaso out to Abane Diamano dia, and yeah, I can't tell. Because football, yeah, passion, is a football, will be born here, so you now be a open presidency, and as a open president, Ababaye. Now, what Nasco can say, do you think the boys never to Abanama? It was it's a Cheddar and come Kobo, you know, and no one be a wait, you know, Messer, any new book, so Chawagene, oh, conversation war, Efa and Mammy. Now, young now, yan send a shout out, Accra, or this side. Now, we Emma Kwaku Wilson, a bit shout out to you. Yes, Sevanus, a bit shout out to you. Now, when so at us, Edema John Akasen, a bit shout out to you, John, baby, Ushibiano, Sports in Ghana. Yeah, hello. Rufai Abdallah Agaza, a big shout out to you. Then we so enter so Emma Robert Sido, a big shout out to you. Emmanuel Asante Chief, South Africa, a big shout out to you. Then Asamoah Jan, a big shout out to you. When say enter us Emma Rudolph Yeboah, a big shout out to you. Jaffa Gaba, a big shout out to you. Evangelist in Cancer TV, a big shout out to you. Then Kojo Fojo, a big shout out to you. Dennis Donko, a big shout out to you. Then George Amwakon, a big shout out to you. Oforin Ketia, a big shout out to you. Asare Joseph, a big shout out to you. Nana Esong, a big shout out to you. Then Bro Eku, a big shout out to you. Then Bro Teku, a big shout out to you. Then our patience, a big shout out to you. Now we're so out to us so Eddie Amadachi Hene, a big shout out to you. We're so Ingram Emma Emmanuel Asabi, a big shout out to you, bro. What's na yeto aba bomodin so be room no akoto aba na bibia ayekama MK, a big shout out to you. Then close to, a big shout out to you. Matthew Atta, a big shout out to you. Then Michael Apia, a big shout out to Gabriel Apote, a big shout out to Ayariga Eris Azuma, a big shout out to Dan Original Nat GH, a big shout out to you. Now we so Eremu Edema Peter Ahin, a big shout out to Peter Ashite, a big shout out to you. Any Obibia or Monitor Sports Ghana, Maxi, our London, a big shout out to you. Obviously, I'm meeting at Kobe, and I'm with my friend Kobe Finest. Ochana, a civic rights. Sa Uremu, na baby a oto abaron, okoto, mesre okwa, enkoshe party t-shirt, enkoye dede, enko oto wabewe ya. Na waide, wabefie, din ye nyumere kwa kutibia, wakutie untie na behwe TV nso a na wahwe na bibi etima ide aye kama se be ya asomdwe de ye nyine benya asomdwe de akoso ahwe sports ana se ya niage sports ho because asomdwe ama I don't think say ye betima bo football kram na ye that is nkomo a ye timi eremu ne de amount e this platform so meeting e de Kobe and I'll be my friend Kobe Finest is abishia.